welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. On this week's episode of Bone Apple Tea, we get to sit down and talk to Elijah Tyson, aka Coach Tyse. He is a health and fitness coach, but also a content consultant. He runs or has ran multiple businesses at this point. I feel like he's he's an entrepreneur, I should say. He's had a bunch of ventures so far. He is the founder of the Grind Tribe. Yes. He works primarily to help people in the Black community with things like health and fitness, but also like mental health, that type of thing. And then again, like I said, he's a content consultant.
Maybe
so
we should hit him up for content consultant.
Yeah, honestly,
just have a whole generated system of stuff. We need to get better about that. Anyway.
Be super convenient. Honestly, I mean, he's a really smart guy. We talk about a bunch of things, ranging from health and fitness initially, like how he got into it and his coaching, and then to how he made the shift to business. A little bit about what kind of characteristics translate over from doing like health and fitness stuff into a business venture type situation,
and life in general.
Yeah, just life in general. And, we talk about a whole bunch of things like how to kind of develop like self-love type of thing like that, like why people have problems with that. We go into a lot of cool stuff, very educated.
Very good speaker.
Very good speaker, very well read. He drops a bunch of, dime quotes in this podcast and 3 big ones at the end there. So definitely watch through to the end. And it would be cool to have him on again.
Yeah.
And you can find him at Coach_Tyse, that's Tyse on Instagram, and also the Grind Tribe, spelled like one word like that as well. So yeah, enjoy.
That's my guy. You guys are Omar's boys from Boston?
Yeah.
He talks about you guys a lot. I had no idea, bro. That's crazy.
Oh, that's super funny.
Yeah. Okay, nice. So we got Randy, and you got to give me your name, bro.
Adam.
Yeah. Nice to connect with you guys, man.
Nice
wow, small world. I did not know that.
Yeah, it was funny. I forget when he was hanging out with you or something like that, or posted you, or like did something where I was like, oh, and I loved your message. And I think I was following you ever since. And I was like, okay, this guy's actually, I think back then you were doing more fitness focused content, where I think you then shifted over to more business focused content, which we'll get into that a little later. That was kind of how I first started following you, because you're one of very few people who just kind of like does no bullshit fitness stuff. That's just like straight facts all the time. And I just was like, all right, this guy's great.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, of course. Super funny that you didn't even know that we knew.
Yeah, I didn't know, man. It's a small world. That's crazy.
Yeah. We went to the same mosque, which is like a Muslim church, basically. I don't know.
Yeah, I know the mosque.
Yeah, so you never know, bro. You never know. So I figured, but like you never know. But like, I got you. Yeah, like I've known him since he was like a little kid. So kind of funny.
Hey, that's I love to see it.
Yeah. So, dude, I'm super curious because I have been following you for a while. You did start out with the fitness stuff. So, what kind of got you started in the fitness space in general?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. So I've always been passionate about health and my body. I got my NASM fitness certification when I was 19. And I was still in college at the time. And I actually had got my certification because I was trying to start a calisthenics club at my university. And that's when I used to just be in like super hardcore street calisthenics, front levers, muscle ups, all that kind of good stuff, like the gymnastic style calisthenics. And I was trying to start this club at my school, but they told me that in order for me to start this club, somebody need to be certified that was instructing the workouts, right? Otherwise it was against compliance.
Interesting.
So I was always wanted to be a trainer, and I always thought I would get my cert, but that was kind of like the thing that I was like, all right, you know what? I gotta I gotta clutch this out and get this certification before the end of the semester. So I went and got my NASM cert as a result of needing it to start my fitness club on campus. And man, when I started that club, bro, it was crazy, man. It was like a huge community of people. I started a calisthenics fitness club because, as you guys know, a college weight training gym has a lot of ego in it. And for the average gym goer that's trying to get into it, it can be a little bit intimidating. And that's how it was for me when I first got into training, because I was always like a smaller guy. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of wanted to create that more community-based experience for people. But it was super crazy because we would have like girls doing front levers in the corner of the gym. These guys looking, what the hell's going on over here?
Yeah,
like, right? Nuts. I really just love the level of community that health and fitness created, as well as like what a different individuals, man. That club created a lot of impact that I didn't even know would create. It was just something that I really loved doing. And that kind of started my journey from there.
Wow. So would you guys would go to the gym like in a group?
Yeah, so first it just started, they didn't let me start the club for like 2 semesters. So I said, fuck y'all, we're just gonna do it officially. And we're just gonna do workouts into like the corner section of the gym where they have like the monkey bar kind of like a circuit set up. You know, that's where we did most of our calisthenics. So I would come in, we would teach people core stability, we teach them how to do muscle ups. So I bought a bunch of bands, we would teach, we'd help the girls learn how to do pull-ups. It was real cool, man. We just kind of started our own vibe, and we just got so big that the people from Alumni Arena started complaining to the student union, like, yo, you guys got to let this guy start his club because he's making a ruckus and we can't really kick them out.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, man. So it was like, at that point, I kind of had to play not really too much politics, but I was like, look, the impact's already there. Like, there were a lot of other political stuff with starting that club, just like campus bureaucracy and stuff like that. And I'm glad I learned it because it gave me a lot of things that helped me in my later on journey. But the impact was so big that it ended up being a thing. Like, all right, you got your cert. Okay, let's make this official and let's make it happen. They would give me hell about the equipment, about insurance, about all these different small little things. Yeah. And then I actually met a guy in the athletics department who he let me use one of their training back rooms for our own private workouts. And it had like, TRXs, pull-up bars, parallel bars, all kinds of cool stuff like that. So we was all able to go back there. We could fit like 30 people in there.
That's that's a lot of people, man.
That is a lot of people. Yeah.
It's just funny. It's funny how like, you guys like to become a club, like you said, like you had to go through all this bureaucratic stuff. And it's just funny because it's like, what is a club? It's just like a group of people. It's like, you're already doing it. You know what I mean? Like what is the barrier here that like you need, you know what I mean? It just seems so silly. It's like, it's clearly already a thing. And then, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely was silly, bro. It's pretty ridiculous. But I always say, man, the problems that you have or the challenges or the obstacles that you got in front of you are your very gemstones to becoming the best version of yourself. Because that starting that club is what allowed me to learn that if you want something, you're going to have to fight for it, especially if it's something that's going to be impactful. Like if God put you on this path to create impact for other people, he's not going to make it easy for you. You're going to have to become strong. You're going to learn how to think. You're going to have to learn how to move. And so for me, that was just like a small microcosm of just learning that principle of like, when you got something big, expect there to be challenges and be okay with that. And just, you got to kind of move and build as you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's kind of like, a small example of that, but it's kind of like the difference between the guy that starts the club and doesn't is like persistence, right? It's like kind of teaches you like, all right, well, you just kind of got to follow through until it's done, because people do it all the time. It's like, you see somebody do something crazy and you're like, man, it's impressive. That's awesome. But that's just a person who didn't give up. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where for a lot of the time you can kind of take that out and you're like, all right, well, the difference between me and where I want to be is whether or not I quit, right? For the most part.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you start with the clubs in college and whatnot. I remember seeing you had like a shift of focus on your social media where you said that I want to exclusively train Black men in particular in all aspects of their lives. So what was kind of the motivation there, and how was that for you? Like, what was the sort of decision-making factor in that?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. And so for me, so I have been training before I was training a lot of people for a long time. I when I graduated college, I was running a startup. I was personal training on the side. So I was training anywhere from old white women to young athletes, right? I had a very just large general population that taught me a lot. But when I shifted back into online coaching, my mindset was I want to create something of deep level impact. And I knew that the prerequisites of that was a very, very highly strong sense of community and strong sense of solving deeper problems. And for me as a Black man, I would say there's always been a lack of leadership when it comes to health for a lot of people, because we have a lot of trauma trapped in our DNA from generations of trauma. So we deal with things like we tend to deal with things like low self-concept and low self-esteem, right? When you have low self-concept, you have low self-esteem because of poverty, because of trauma, because of things that you haven't been able to consciously uplift yourself out of. You don't take care of yourself, right? And because of that, like I started to just, I kind of just started to recognize a lot of different things from, our experiences here in America as Black men, as well as how we operate in our health, even for high performing men, where it's like, hey, I'm the first generation entrepreneur of my family. Like, this is a lot of pressure. How can I actually navigate staying healthy when I've got like the lifeline of my family on my back to succeed? There was just so much context behind that, and I resonated with that so much because I was one of the first generation entrepreneurs in my family, and because of my background in health, it allowed me to really see how I can leverage my health as an asset for me, but more importantly, how it helped me become a better leader overall. And I felt like that was a message that was needed for my community, and specifically for the men in my community. And so I felt like it made sense to really, really just focus on that deep level transformation, and not just starting with weight training and macros, but starting at the level of your value system, starting at the level of understanding that there are gaps in your self-esteem right now that you may not be aware of, because this is what our culture is used to. And so there was such a deep level of depth and transformation that came with really addressing certain things, right, that were connected to our experience, that had a manifestation in the way that we took care of our bodies and our health. And so I kind of really took it upon myself to really see, how can I create impact at a higher level, man? And that's what I did with the Grind Tribe, man. I built that business to 6 figures, but the money wasn't what mattered, right? It was the impact. You know what I'm saying? I was able to start having retreats where men would come and we would meditate. We'd go out in nature together. We would have conversations. We would bring in therapists. We would talk about mental health. We would do things at a depth that we weren't really used to doing, especially with each other. And so that was the next level of impact for me. And that's why I felt like I made that decision to kind of work with Black men in that construct of their fitness and their mental health.
Wow. That's awesome, dude. It's actually really cool because I'd never really heard you explain it out like that before, but that makes a lot of sense, dude. And like, I feel like it is kind of like you have that ability to have that connection that other people might not have. And so I could see why you chose to go down that path. But like, it's not even that you went down like a simple road, like you really broke it down to the finer details of everything.
It definitely wasn't a simple road.
Yeah, yeah,
for sure. I could have just trained women that wanted big butts. Like, they want to pay more. I can tell you that. Yeah. But like, it was about, I had a really good business mentor one time, and he said one thing. He was like, "Yo, don't niche down to don't niche down in your coaching business to people just because they can pay you. Niche down to people who you feel like you can connect with at the deepest level and understand their problems at the deepest level, because then you can deliver value at the deepest level." And as an entrepreneur, I'm a very value-driven, customer-centric person. And I knew that there's nobody who can serve Black men deeper than me in the fitness. Like, because I'm touching on things that most people just either don't have the context, experience, or willingness to touch on. And that's what exactly allowed me to propel and excel and be able to make the impact in that business.
It's so funny because I feel like more and more nowadays, it's like, any if somebody wants to, sell something or whatever, at least back in the day, it's like, here's a trick to get somebody to buy something, whatever, this and that. And now it's more so like, hey, if you have something valuable, people are going to pay you money for it. And it's like, there's no like tricks. You're not like scamming anyone. So it's like, find something that you enjoy doing and you have some perspective on. And if it provides value, like somebody is going to recognize that and pay you. So it's like, it's kind of cool to see, because a lot of the time people try to like, I'm going to do this because it makes me money, but I actually hate it. When it's like, you could find something, that you enjoy doing and you're passionate about and good at. And, when you're good enough at something, like people, like the money comes, you know what I mean? Like if you have skills, the money comes. That's kind of just how it goes. But speaking to the mental health aspect, because I do, a lot of the time, right? Like if you're like, somebody has a problem, we'll use the gym as an example, like they can't be consistent with the gym, or like they don't have the drive or whatnot. Usually there's some sort of, there's a reason behind that, and it's like a mental block or something like that, or maybe they're intimidated or whatnot. But specifically for like the Black community, like what's something that you see as an obstacle that's like pretty common amongst people when you work with somebody? Like, is there something that's like you notice it kind of across the board, or the most common thing?
What was that?
Lack of self-belief.
Okay.
Most of if you pay attention to my content because I have my fitness page separate now, but if you pay attention to my content, most of it is mindset content, right? Most of it is me getting brothers to understand that you can believe in yourself and you can show up as the highest version of yourself. Because most of us, I don't like to say most of us. I don't like to trope all Black men into like this traumatic experience. I don't like doing that because I know that's not the case. But I would say a lot of us, we have had experience where when you're in that 2 to 7 year old alpha state, you may have had a lack of affirmation. You may have been through certain traumas that, your mind is still getting over. You may have developed unconsciously different levels of low self-esteem. Like I read books that are written by Black psychologists, right? And a lot of Black people don't know, like Black men are the most Black men in adolescence from 13 to 21 years old are the most suicidal. But they're not jumping off buildings. They're choosing to sell drugs and kill each other. That's suicidal.
Oh,
that's subconscious suicide.
Yeah.
If I choose to live a life where I know more than likely I'm going to end up dead or in jail, that is subconscious suicide. But that's how deep the rabbit hole goes. And so when it comes to the mental health component, a lot of brothers, we just lack that belief in ourselves because number one, we grow up and we watch all the superhero movies and nobody looks like us. So we're already implanted this subconscious nuance that like, I have to be some like for every like 10 white guy superheroes, there's like one Black superhero, right? Yeah. So like, all right, that means that on average, it's for every 10 guys that are excellent, like only one Black guy can be, right? And so it's like, there's like this level of lack of subconscious belief that has been indirectly and directly programmed into us from our experiences to how we consume media and content of a lowered self-perception. And when you have that, you operate in your day-to-day life. You eat like shit. You develop bad habits. You drink. You watch porn. You do all these things that are very destructive for yourself because at the end of the day, how you operate physically is just a mirror of how you're operating internally. And we can't get in the midst of that mud without having to dive into some of the unique experience that we face.
Yeah.
So why do you think it's so hard for, this is sort of in the same vein, why do you think it's so hard for people to like do things for themselves as opposed to for other people? Like for example, I look at like working out, it's like you're doing something for yourself. Like, yeah, sure, it's work, but it's like, I feel like a lot of the times, I know with me personally, like if I'm doing something and somebody else is like I'm doing something for someone else, there's kind of this like, oh man, I got to get this done. But if it's for myself, and I know a lot of people feel this way too. It's like a lot of people kind of like, they're like, oh, they don't treat themselves like a friend. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like,
it's the whole concept of like, you don't really like people don't even clean up their house until they know someone's coming over.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the house is spotless, oh shit, someone's going to be here. And then someone walks in the door. Right. Sorry for the mess, even though it's been the cleanest that it's ever been in years, But yeah, that's a really good question. What do you think?
I mean, it takes a lot of work to develop a good relationship with yourself. And I think that a lot of people just haven't done that work yet. And, I feel like most people are just running away from pain. Right. And so it's almost like I'm only really just optimizing for the bottlenecks inside of my life. And so most people don't like to make decisions and conscious decisions in their day-to-day. This is regular human nature. Conscious decisions in their day-to-day life that you have to run in towards pain to get towards the pleasure on the other side. It's kind of just like, well, I'm going to start working out because the doctor told me like I'm going to die in 10 years if I continue this weight gain. Right. Or I'm going to just like not develop healthy habits for myself because work is just super demanding. And like, I got to work, right? Like we don't have this loving relationship with ourselves internally. And again, it always manifests externally. And for me, I felt like in my unique experience, I got into fitness because I got into fitness when I was like 17 years old. It's because I had like my first puppy dog heartbreak, right? all transparency. And I was like, yo, I can either sit here and feel like a complete fucking loser right now, or I can do something that I can control to level me up. So I was running away from the pain.
Yeah.
But then a couple years later, I'm like, wait, then I got into self-development. I'm like, wait, like elevating my body at a physical level started allowing me to elevate at a mental level. Because when you work out, you're naturally more mentally healthy. Your endorphins, serotonin, dopamine, right? All these things these are positive chemicals, right? Even when you look good and your woman is around you, like there's more oxytocin, right? Like there's a lot that physiologically adds to your mental health from working out. So now I'm working out and I'm like, man, I'm starting to feel like I started developing this positive image for myself and I started setting standards for myself. I remember my first year in college, and this is when I started realizing that what workout did it for me, because I started to not make decisions running away from pain, but running towards vision. So I like to say I made the transition from being a pain-based decision maker to a vision-based decision maker, right? And I remember when I first time in college, I used to sell a lot of weed in college because I sold weed in high school. And my freshman year of college, my school was like 3.5 hours from my hometown. So I used to go down to my hometown to re-up on my weed every weekend, and I used to drive down. And one day I'm driving back up and I get stopped, and I'm a black dude in an old blacked out 92 Honda. So of course I get profiled and searched. The only thing is I was actually a drug dealer.
Yeah, man. These cops profiling me and shit.
But I was actually a drug dealer, right? And I had like a pound on me. I had I had a scale on me. I was like tripping. So I got locked up with an intent for sale charge. And I was like, okay, now if you get a drug charge on your record, you can't get financial aid anymore. And so
didn't know that either.
Yeah, the system's fucked up. So that's a whole nother conversation, right?
Interesting.
But I say that to say, luckily I was a kind of smart drug dealer who had money stashed away, and I paid my lawyer, and I had just got stopped in New Jersey. And so now I wasn't in New York anymore. So they was able to seal my record off through New York, and I didn't have any issues. And at that moment, I was like, all right, I kind of got myself a pass here. Do I want to keep on like overdoing this shit to just end up as another person who's a victim to the system? Or do I want to actually get my mind right and fucking go to college and graduate and make something of my life? And I chose to make a decision, right, that aligned with the future version of myself, that aligned with the vision that I have for myself. And the reason being is because all of that working out and self-development and getting out of a heartbreak, it elevated my self-concept to the point where I can look at a decision and I can logically say, fuck the narratives, fuck all the instant gratification. Let's think logically about who the fuck you want to be here, bro. Right?
Yeah.
But that developing a relationship where I was able to see myself at a higher level.
Yeah.
Because most guys, the first time that happens, they're just like, well, I got to sell some more drugs to pay the rest of my lawyer off. And then I get caught in that. And then it comes with a fucking cycle.
Yeah.
Because I've seen the cycle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're in college, bro. Like, you're an AP student in high school. This is not your life. You don't have to choose this dumb shit.
Dude, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's like really cool. And I like that mentality because I agree. I think that people tend to like, there was a viral video floating around for a while where someone said like, what's a red flag for you? And a girl said, guys who think going to the gym is a personality, right? Of course, she got dragged through the internet with like people coming back at that, but rightfully so to a certain degree, because it's like, there is a personality that comes with the gym for anyone that goes to the gym, regardless of who you are. And that's, if you're someone who's dedicated, it starts trickling over into the rest of your life, kind of like you're mentioning, is that because you see rewards and gain from being consistent and dedicated, all of a sudden you start thinking about, well, you know, if I actually treated anything else like I did the gym, it's probably going to have a similar benefit. And you find in life, whatever it is actually pretty analogous.
Yeah, like a micro.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like kind of like you said, right? Like avoiding pain. It's like one of those things too, where like kind of understanding that it exists no matter what you decide to do. You know, like if you're gonna go and do something that you know is gonna be challenging, well, not doing that thing is gonna come with pain as well. It's just maybe you're not frustrated from not being able to figure something out, and you know you deal with the frustration and you push through it. But it's the frustration, or you deal with the pain of shit, I wish I did that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's one of those things where even going to the gym too, you know, the way I think about it, I'm like, all right, well, I want to be here and time's going to pass whether I do something about it or not. And I know 6 months from now, I'm going to be like, shit, if I just showed up even twice a week, you know what I mean? I would be in a way better spot right now. And like, it's kind of tough, you know, people like, it's getting started, I would say, you know, you're like, man, this is going to be uncomfortable, but I got to do it. But it's like once you get used to making like micro decisions and, you know, it's almost like habit forming, but also, you know, you develop the mentality where, you know, like you can handle it and you see it in day-to-day life, right? You're like, well, who cares if this is going to be annoying or difficult? Like I have proof that I can do shit like this. I've done it before. Look at my track record. I've been doing it for months or whatever, you know? Yeah. So a lot of people kind of like, I feel like if somebody falls off the wagon or they're having trouble getting started, it's one of those things where it's like, hey man, just try to do this like bare minimum for 2 weeks. And then when you see you can do that, it's like easy to kind of move on. And, you know, feel like people stop a little short, and where it's like, hey man, if you just kept doing it for a few more days, it kind of just becomes automatic, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
100%. And it's because the repetition builds up your character and your identity. I don't know if any of you guys have ever read Atomic Habits, but one of the biggest takeaways I got from that book is like your habits will align with your identity, right? And until you fully moved into the identity of the person you want to be, a lot of the things that you are doing are going to feel like a drag. It is going to feel like another thing on your to-do list. But with enough repetition, like when I was running my startup at the college, I used to have long, drawn-out days. I had to start going to the gym. I woke up at 4:30 in the morning. I would get into the gym by 5 on the dot, and I would leave by 6:15. 5 days a week, right? That was absolutely dreadful, right? Coming from a kid who just graduated college, and I'm 100% skipping my first class. I'm catching an online lecture. Fuck that, right? Fuck that, right?
Sounds like you're talking about this guy.
Yeah.
Right? But like over time though, you know, it just became like it was the 5 a.m. club. It's like I prefer to be up that early now. It's not something that requires a bunch of willpower. Now, do I do it like all the time? I do definitely take breaks from it, right? But it's not something that when I jump back into it, I have to like, oh man, no. It's just like, dude, get up. Like this, it's a part of who I am now. I'm an entrepreneur who has an extremely busy lifestyle, and I know that if I don't get my workout in the morning, it's very hard to prioritize that workout over all the goddamn fires I got to put out in my business. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna wake my ass up, and I'm gonna get there at 5 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, 6 in the morning, whatever it has to be, to put myself first before I have to jump in and start putting everybody else and everything else first.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. It's true. And it's like, you know, I've had those days where I'm like, man, you know, I probably need some sleep today, so I'm going to sleep in a little. And then the feeling later in the day when I'm like, man, I wish I worked out this morning. Like I try to like capture it, and I'm like, just remember this, because tomorrow when you try to wake up and you don't want to get out of bed, like the first thing I think of is like, dude, I was pissed yesterday because I couldn't get to the gym. And like, I'm going to do myself a solid right now and get up, because I know it's like, you know, the morning, nobody likes to, me, myself, I'm not a morning person. But the second we got jobs, you know, I was like, we kind of both were like, well, I don't want to work out after work. Like I want to come home and be able to do something that I want to do and work on other shit. So I'm going to become a morning person. Like that's it. I'm waking up at like 5:30, 6 a.m. to go to the gym before work, because if that happens, then, you know, I don't want to work out late at night. Like I don't want to come home from work, go to the gym, come home, make dinner and go to bed. Like I want to be able to do stuff. So, and you know, I'm not going to wake up early and like go and do something. Like anything I would do after work, right? Everything's closed in the morning. Like I want to be able to live my life. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm just a morning person now. That's it. You know? And then you get used to it. Like you said, like, you know, once it becomes a habit, it's like, yeah, I'm still not a morning person, but I'm going to wake up. And, you know, it kind of bleeds into your life where it's like on the weekends, you end up waking up early too. And it's like, cool, I got all this time now.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's like impossible for me to sleep past 9 a.m. anymore. Like impossible. to sleep past 9, and 9's like a late day. But it's like it's actually a good point too, because there's always the initial suck, and this probably is the same for a lot of things, whether you're trying to learn how to play drums or learn the guitar or an instrument, acting, whatever it is. There's going to be an initial hurdle of like, wow, this is hard. And it's like driving through that initial part is everything, I think, is like the key to all of it. Not to shift gears completely, but I do want to make sure we touch on how you're so we got sort of the physical fitness side of you, but I also admire sort of the business mind that you got going on. So I'd love to hear how you sort of, at least in my mind, I actually didn't even know you had a separate fitness page. So I'm going to go follow that after this. But so what was the sort of decision in switching branding a little bit to go to more of like developmental stuff?
Yeah, man. So what I do now is I run it like a done for you content consulting agency. So we consult you on your content, we produce it for you, we put it through our 3-tiered editing process to pump you out. Anybody who's a coach or consultant, help them really learn how to speak to their audience at a high level and produce a large volume of valuable content. So what really, I didn't even really foresee me ever doing that. I'd always had a certain set of business skill sets because I ran a startup before, fresh out of college. So that's to put that story in short, I was fresh out of college. We had some business plan competitions in school because I had this idea of like a refrigerator vending machine that didn't sell you food. It sold you, it's like space to store your food, because I used to, be a health guy on campus, bring my protein shakes and stuff like that. And so we got a little bit of funding, man. I went and I've like about 2.5 years after college, I ran that startup until it failed. And I built up a very large business acumen doing that because I was raising money, building systems, hiring an engineer team, hiring talent, just like a bunch of stuff that just like I had to learn very, very, very fast. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I did when I was running that startup is I used to pitch. I used to go on stages, business plan competitions, and I was constantly pitching, and I would have to pitch a whole business plan in 3 to 5 minutes.
Right.
Right. And with each pitch came 20, 30, 40 reps of practice. And I did probably close to 100 pitches. Right. Oh, wow. So do the math. I was doing I had to learn how to speak and articulate information at a very high level, which is why I do it so good on camera. I would like to believe in what people say.
Yeah, you're doing pretty good. I'm kidding.
But what got me into what I'm doing now, man, is like I use content, just high level, high value, deep level content to grow my online fitness business. Right. I've done everything in the business digital marketer world spin. Ran Facebook ads, did this strategy, that strategy. And what I learned is that when you just put out, specific to the fitness business, when you put out this content that hits your audience at a deep level, gets them to align with your value system, right, and allows them to kind of shift their mindset to understand what they actually need, and if what they actually need is you, it just creates a very smooth process of building a business, because your clients see you as something more than just like, okay, this guy's going to teach me how to squat. Like, no, this guy's going to teach me how to elevate myself and step into this bigger version of myself that I'm looking to become. But why though? What creates that perception? What creates that value in your audience? It's your content, right? Yeah. And for me, I always was like, I don't want to just be fitness guy number 69,687 on Instagram. Like, I just don't.
Yeah.
Right. I want to create an impactful message that drives deep level change and deep level value, and obviously be compensated in that accordance, right? And so through that, I just got really good at content creation, and I just started having other coaches reach out to me and just continuously ask me about like content, and I'd find myself coaching other coaches. And then one day I meet this digital marketer at the coffee shop across the street from the WeWork that I was working at, and at the time, I kind of helped one of my boys who's in like the financial coaching space. I helped him produce some reels, and it performed really, really well for him. So I was like, okay. He's like, yeah, man, you like my content consulting. And I'm like, I like that.
Yeah.
And so I'm walking into the coffee shop, and it happened so organically. These two girls are having a conversation. I kind of like butted in, and then we just started having a conversation. They asked me what I'm doing. I was like, yeah, I'm an online mind body coach, and I'm a content consultant. And I see like this like digital marketer looking dude. He's got like blue light glasses on, a full suit on, just like super focused. He just turns around and then we're done talking. He's like, he was like, hey man, you said you were a content consultant? I'm like, yeah. He was like, tell me more about that. And so I kind of just let him know, like, yes, I help you produce, high value video content for their coaching or consulting based businesses. And he's like, really? He's like, I actually run a business where, you kind of explain to me what he's do. He's like, I'm in the States. He's from Morocco. He said, I'm in the States for the next week or so. Will we be able to do some content? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, okay, cool. Can I pay you now? I was like, oh, okay. Well, this is a lot of value. And, we ended up kind of doing some work together. He was kind of really opening me up to all the problems that, people that are, just starting a coaching business, all the way to people that are doing hundreds of thousands of dollars a month face when it comes to their content. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay. And I kind of really, that combined, like knowing what I've already done, like I've already been a practitioner of what I do, and it helped me grow my coaching business to 6 figures. Knowing what I've already done, along with seeing that there was a need out there, I said, look, I'm down to solve a bigger problem. And so that was just kind of the shift, man. And it was just very, very organic. And now we're here, man. I just literally built out a full SOP for all my editors and processes today. Like it's been stretching me in a new capacity, because now I'm building a business that has a very high operational capacity. So it's forcing me to learn there, as well as just continue to hone in on the skills that I've already built through becoming an online coach. It's like with Alex Ramones, he talks about like your skill stack.
Yep.
And I'm like, holy shit, I worked with a very hard market in fitness to sell high ticket to. But doing that allowed me to build the sales skill sets, the messaging skill sets, the being able to put out volume when it comes to your content. All of that prefaced me to have the skill sets to be able to help other people.
Yeah.
It's so funny because I'm always like thinking like, man, what is it about like, coaches or people that are heavily into fitness or fitness content? Like they always end up pivoting into some business, and it's like what about it is it makes that transition like make sense, right?
Well, okay, so
I was just going to say like the successful ones, right? Because you learn so much from the gym, and I'm like, okay, well, you kind of got to put your neck out there when you're trying to get clients. You know what I mean? Like we have buddies that were coaches, and he's like, yeah, dude, I'm just walking up to people, like starting a conversation, and you got to be good at it if you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
I would say there's two sides of it, man. When selling fitness is actually a lot harder than people think, because what you're selling is you're selling somebody. They have to be committed. They have to do something that they probably are not going to like doing, right? And they have to believe in themselves, and they got to pay for it, right? Yeah. Like people, like fitness is like, it's a sexy market, but it's actually a very hard market to sell, especially in value-based selling, right? And so, I've seen two sides of the spectrum when it comes to fitness guys pivoting to B2B. I've seen one side, which I do see a lot, which is like a guy who kind of ran a fitness business and was like, I don't feel like doing this anymore. It's a lot easier to just sell the fitness coaches on how to get more lead generation. So there's that side of the equation, but then there's actually people who have built a fitness business and built skill sets and now want to help people who are doing the same.
Okay.
Right. So there's two sides of the coin here, because I wouldn't really say I'm a skeptical person, but there's a lot of capping going on in the digital marketing space for sure.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, so you're going to teach me how to scale the 100K a month. Where is your 100K a month fitness business though? Like where?
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about that story? Like, did you actually build a fitness business, or did you just learn email marketing and lead generation, and now you're trying to sell me those services? Okay, got you. So, I had always knew that I would somehow pivot into B2B. I didn't know if it was going to be helping fitness professionals only. I don't know if it was going to be going back into like startup space. I didn't know if it was going to be like any sort of niche. I just said, one thing I always told myself is I'm like, until my business consistently does, multi 6 figures profitably, I'm not doing any pivots. I personally don't feel like I'm merited enough to do it. I can have a conversation. I can share my stories, but until I've had enough repetition and really done a lot of diligence around my skill sets and really looked at the principles that work, not the strategies, not the new funnel, but the principles that work in building a coaching business and building yourself as an expert, until I've actually hit a certain milestone, I don't really see myself trying to teach other people to do it. for me, I would just get too much imposter syndrome.
Well,
Like,
100%.
I think that's just called having integrity.
Well,
so,
it's the smart way to look at it.
A lot of guys don't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's a smart way to look at it because, like, you know, at the end of the day, like, you can't outrun that. You know, somebody's gonna find out you're full of shit someday, right? So it's like one of those things where, you know, obviously, you know, you having success in all those things, that's like evidence or proof. If you need to convince yourself, hey, this is a good idea, well, it's like, well, what have I done so far? And that's like the easiest way to build confidence is just, hey, look, like, why am I having confidence issues? I've shown that I can do this repeatedly. So, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, well, here are the facts. Like, you are successful at this. So it's only natural by extension to pivot, right? But of course, yeah, like there's a lot of people that, like, you know, talk a lot and it sounds great and this and that and cool. But then when it comes to execution, it's like, all right, well, they don't know what they're doing. And so, like, skills are undeniable, right? Like, you can, if you're skilled enough, like, people are going to pay you. That's how it is. It's like,
and I actually still run my online coaching business. Like, it's literally on autopilot. Like, I signed up another client this week. Like, it was just like, it's just on autopilot, right? Because I built the systems around it enough to award me the capacity to go build something bigger. You know, and I think that's important as well, because I actually love working with my audience and hosting retreats and getting guys in incredible shape.
Yeah.
Like, it's just something that's always going to be a passion of mine. And so, you know, for me, it was, I didn't really call it necessarily a pivot. I called it more of like a pivot / evolving, you know, just allowing the skill sets that I've built to, you know, just solve a bigger problem in the marketplace.
Yeah. It's almost like a natural extension of what you're already doing. You know, like it's almost under the same umbrella. Like being in good shape and taking care of your physical body, like, directly impacts the other stuff you're doing. You know, so
absolutely. It's hard to get people to see that.
I was gonna say it's really 100%. Tough. It's really tough.
And I used to go through that a lot, man. I don't know if I put out a piece of content talking about this the other day about how frustrating it is to try to convince people that they have a problem. And you know, one of the things for me is, like, a lot of guys don't realize, like, you're going to get a financial ROI on being in shape. Like, you just are. When you have more positive chemicals running through your brain because of a morning workout, you feel better, you fit your clothes better, you're carrying a more positive aura. You're going to chase after opportunities with more stamina. You're going to be more precise, and you're going to be more confident.
More energy for sure.
It doesn't matter what you do. You're gonna, whether you're chasing pussy or you're chasing money, you're gonna get more.
Yeah, no, it's true though. It's so true.
Real talk.
No, it's so true. I think people forget that, like, because I think right now, if you're outside of the fitness space looking in, I think too many people kind of look at the perfect bodies and they assume they have to look like that. And not everyone's got to look like that to reap the benefits of fitness. You know, you don't got to be Gail Godot or Jason Momoa to have a very successful fitness career where you're just getting in better shape with better dense bones, with better endocrine system functioning, with better utilization of nutrients. Like, your body literally uses nutrients differently when you're physically active, because it's going to be more inclined to drive that protein to your muscles. It's going to be more inclined to water your joints because you're actively using them. Motion is lotion. I think that's something that the body is a unique machine, in that every other machine in the world breaks down with use, but the human body actually builds up with use. So it's one of those things that I think if we could somehow convince or convey that message more, then you have to look like, you know, the Liver King.
I would say it's about alignment, man.
Yeah.
You know, because I get it. Like, now that I'm building an agency, like, I can understand where a lot of guys come from when they say, like, yo, I just don't have time. I can't necessarily agree with it because I make time, right?
Right.
But so, you know, when you talked about self-esteem earlier?
Yeah.
Here's, you know, there's this book called Body Mind Mastery by Dan Millman. He talks about this, and this is a principle I leverage in my coaching. And it's really, really good, because a lot of guys, the mishap with their fitness comes when they're going through some new transition in their life. I'm starting this new highly demanding job. I'm starting a business, or I'm becoming a father. Those are the three biggest things. And a lot of people don't understand is that a lot of guys don't understand that when you're going through this new uptick where you're like, holy, I'm not that good at this. I'm just not, like, being a father is hard. Or like, yo, this business is stretching me. I kind of suck right now. What you experience is you always will experience a temporary dip in your self-esteem, right? because you're learning something new and you're not as certain as yourself as you were a couple months back or a couple of, a time back when you were in your prime or peak or something, right? Because life has its ebbs and flows, right? And so now you may be, it may be your first time, as an entrepreneur and you're learning sales, you're learning all these new skill sets and you kind of suck and you feel like that slight dip in self-esteem. Remember how you said like a lot of people just got to realize that's going to be a little bit painful at first and then they'll get it. A lot of us, we over-index in working more to try to get up out that dip. And that's when we start to have the lack of balance on the side of our body. And then it becomes a habit. And it becomes a habit that's hard to reverse because now what you've done is you've programmed yourself to consistently put work and all these external things before your health. That's just what happens with guys. You go through a period of life where your ego gets smacked in the fucking face because you were in this little bubble of being 24 or 28, and now it's like you're a father, you're running a business, and you're doing shit that's fucking hard, that you're not used to. You lose a little bit of your certainty in yourself, and you don't know that that's just a temporary thing. So you start to try to hold on to whatever you can to hold on to your sense of identity and ego, and so you just drop whatever baggage you can't hold, which at the time you're gonna feel is your fitness. And so this is what we go over a lot in our retreats. Right? Because it's like, you can't just drop the ball on your body every time you have a challenge in your life. Instead, if you can understand the principle, like, yo, okay, it's okay that I don't know what's going on right now, or I'm not as good as, I don't feel like I'm as good as I should be, right? Just because I'm feeling like that temporarily does not mean I have to drop the bag on the very thing that's going to give me the stamina and the capacity to go at this task with intensity every single day. But if we don't have that information, we just we live I would say you want to live a proactive based lifestyle, not a reactive based lifestyle. Most guys get out of shape and they build that habit and it goes from 6 months to being out of shape to 6 years being out of shape because they was living a reactive lifestyle. Because you wasn't able to see and maneuver and kind of build systems. Like when I'm spending about an average of like 12 hours working a day right now. And me going into this knowing I would have to build new skill sets in different areas, I told myself, you know what? My parameters is three days a week because I know I'm not going to be getting a lot of sleep, and I know the science behind all that. But I'm still hitting the gym about 5 days a week though. Because I just like me going into a very challenging day without smashing some weights first. I feel more emotional. I feel more reactive. I feel that I'm just like, dude, what the fuck is my testosterone right now? I'm like, bro, testosterone right now. But I've lived this lifestyle enough to understand the correlation and the ROI. Most guys don't. So my job as a coach is to paint that picture for you. Number one, by being a practitioner of it. But number two, leveraging messaging in my platform to get you to see that.
Yeah. Even like, even just like showing up on like, like maybe, something happens and you can't be as intense in the gym, but just literally just showing up and just keeping the habit. The second that it comes back to normal, like you don't have to go crazy, but like, whatever. If you only have 20 minutes, like whatever, go do something for 20 minutes. But then when you're out of this slump, it's like you still kept the habit. And so it's easy to just keep going. You know what I mean? And then do a little more when you have more time, but like at least you're showing up.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah.
And I'm all about alignment, man. I've always tell guys like, listen, you got to set your fitness goals based on your value system. So a lot of times, like, we'll go through that transition and like your fitness goals are still tied to like the shit that it was a very long time ago. Right. And sometimes when that shit doesn't matter anymore, it becomes hard. It becomes hard to you to justify that prioritization. Because I work with a lot of men who are married, who have kids. Like their lifestyle is different. Like you have a beating heart to think about, multiple of them, right? So you can't just, I always say, yes, you can be selfish, but in the same way, it's like, I got to decide as a man, what decisions that make most sense for me. And that's why I always talk about alignment. Because I'm like, bro, all right, listen, you're not in college, you're trying to be the big dude with the six pack so you can get more women anymore. I get it, right? But you can't be operating with the same construct around your health and fitness as you were when you were 21 and you're 31. Right. So you need to realign what your value system is. I got that from, I learned that from the book, The Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. It's just all about learning about like really getting very, very clear and defined on what your value system is and making sure that your lifestyles, priorities, obligations, and all these different things that you have in commitments, they all are within alignment of that value system. And don't give a fuck about what else doesn't.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah,
You know,
that's a really good way to look at it, man, because like there was this I have a friend and she's a new mom and
okay.
she's just kind of getting back into going to the gym and she made a post the other day that she feels really bad that she has to leave her daughter to go to the gym. And I
Mm,
commented under it, I said, you shouldn't feel bad. You should feel great because what you're doing is you're setting your health up such that you will live a longer, healthier life for your daughter. So
exactly.
I think too often people think that the gym is a subtraction from their life when it's really only an addition.
In
Um,
addition, for sure.
yeah. So we are coming up on an hour. I know I wanted to give you like just like a few minutes to like if you needed anything that you wanted to like talk about before we close out, anything you
Mm.
want to mention. I know an hour flies by really fast. But
Right.
what did you say?
Now, I said now it flies by when you're having fun, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
absolutely, dude. 100%.
Uh, yeah. I mean, is there anything you guys wanted to kind of tap into? Additionally,
Well, the thing is, I could, but then we're off into another
Yeah, I was
30-minute
gonna
talk
say.
just because it's so easy to talk to you.
well, okay,
Well,
But
definitely plug your socials and everything too, so people know where to
yeah,
find you.
yeah,
absolutely. So you guys, I'm on Instagram primarily as Coach_Tyse. So Tyse is spelled Tyse. Also my fitness and performance page is the Grind Tribe, all is one word. And man, what I want to leave you, what I want to leave your listeners with is a couple of principles that are like I felt like that I learned through fitness that are microcosm to just life, right? And so the first principle is that clarity comes after action. A lot of times we sit and we are kind of like just mentally masturbating on shit that we know we need to do and waiting for that perfect time or motivation to just get up and open that book or reach out to that client or get to the gym or whatever it is you got going on. And we're waiting for this time of motivation. And a lot of times what we don't realize is that actual what you're actually looking for is clarity. And a lot of times, most times, if not all time, that is going to come actually after you just going out there with a little bit of uncertainty and doing it and just putting in some reps, right? When you put in the reps, that's what builds you up. And I think that we live in a world where short form content, instant gratification, everything is just super, just like, give me a quick little hit of dopamine, right? And now everybody's becoming dope fiends, right? And so we got to understand that, when it comes to the things that matter in life that we want to go after, when we're dealing with these different levels of inconsistency, like just if you're feeling like you don't want to get to the gym, just get to the treadmill. Because 5 minutes in the treadmill, you're going to feel warmed up. Now you can go smash the weights, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're feeling like you don't know where to start with this business, just do something. Just ask somebody to buy something, right? Just put a post out there. The clarity always comes after action. So that's number one. Another thing, man, is to understand kind of what we were building on earlier, how to find your alignment. And I believe that alignment, I don't like to use the word balance because when I think about balance, I think about based on whose scale, right? And I had to deal with this a lot when I was fresh out of graduation. I was running a startup and all my friends had went and got nice corporate jobs and they're going on these crazy haywire vacation weekends and all that kind of shit. And I'm just like eating shit, learning a lot, not getting paid very much at the time. And I had to realize that, well, what they value is not what I value. And I am within alignment because I'm operating my purpose and I'm doing the work and I'm paying it forward. And so a lot of times we will get misconstrued where we kind of feel like life is kind of like this tug of war of things and it shouldn't be. It should just be a flow. And when you can really learn to understand your values and attach the people and the friendships and the commitments and the priorities and even your work into that value system, what you're gonna start to see is that you always feel like you're in just like this state of alignment. It doesn't ever really feel like, oh my God, I have to sacrifice this for this. It's like, no, these things all work together. It's like an infinite loop, right? And I believe that's fitness, that's relationships, that's work and business, anything. If you can really understand your value system, you can learn how to create that level of alignment inside of your lifestyle, where it's almost like less is more.
Yeah.
And then my last one, man, is going to be man, My last gem is going to be to just put the reps in. Like,
where's the button?
Just put the reps in. I'm keeping it simple, man. For anybody in any area of life, business, whatever, just put the reps in. I've always been a fan of just diligence, and I used to be a wrestler, man. And wrestling was one of those sports, bro, where if you have a tournament the next day and you bullshit it and you kind of you tried to like dilly-dally off of your drills and Friday's practice, and you could have like worked that takedown 5 more times, you'll know directly after you lost the match, like, fuck, I didn't get my hips deep enough. If I would have just trained that drill 5, 10, 15 more times instead of just trying to dilly-dally off because it was Friday night, I would have placed first. Right? And so that level of diligence always stayed with me, and it's a very repetition-based sport. Right? But through that repetition comes just those. You ever ask people, how do you just make this look so easy? People ask me about that on my content all the time. How do you just jump on camera and just take any piece of information and just do it so quickly? I'm like, I've done this thousands of times.
Yeah.
It's the repetition.
Yeah, it's so true.
With the work, and you'll become a master.
Love it.
That's true, yeah. It's funny. I do jujitsu, and like the wrestlers are always like the hardest working guys, you know?
Hey man, it's a mindset. You can't be a wrestler without. You can't be a wrestler without being a hard working guy.
Yeah, crazy.
All right, well, sweet, dude.
That was awesome. Yeah, it was great having you.
Yeah.
It was.
Appreciate you guys for having me, man. And for considering me on your platform, real talk.
Yeah, definitely, dude.
100%, dude. And yeah, thanks so much for coming on. I'm sure we'll talk to you again soon. And,
we'll have to have you on again or something. We can pick a topic or something like that.
But, it's incredibly easy to talk to you, dude. So thanks so much for hopping on, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, man.
See ya. Thanks so much for listening to Bone Apple Tea. If you like the show, please give us a follow, like, comment, subscribe, whatever it is. Tell your friends about it. And, make sure to follow us on Instagram. That's Bone Apple TV, BoneAppleTeav on Instagram. Thanks so much.